In crossing a hearth, suppose I pitched my foot against a stone, and were asked how the stone came to be there. I might possibly answer that for anything I knew to the contrary, it had lain there forever. Nor would it perhaps be very easy to show the absurdity of this answer. But suppose I had found a watch upon the ground, and it should be inquired how the watch happened to be in that place. I should hardly think of the answer I had before given, that for anything I knew the watch might have always been there. Every indication of contrivance, every manifestation of design which existed in the watch, exists in the works of nature, with the difference, on the side of nature, of being greater or more, and that in a degree which exceeds all computation. Natural Theology, William Paley, 1802. By irreducibly complex, I mean a single system composed of several well-matched interacting parts that contribute to the basic function, wherein the removal of any one of the parts causes the system to effectively cease functioning. An irreducibly complex system cannot be produced directly, that is, by continuously improving the initial function, which continues to work by the same mechanism, by slight successive modifications of a precursor system. Because any precursor to an irreducibly complex system that is missing a part is by definition non-functional. An irreducibly complex biological system, if there is such a thing, would be a powerful challenge to Darwinian evolution. Darwin's Black Box, The Biochemical Challenge to Evolution. Michael Behe. These two quotes represent the two most famous intelligent design arguments. The first is called Paley's Watchmaker. The second is known as Behe's irreducible complexity. Intelligent design is the most common default to God argument. When fundamentalists suggest, for example, that the curve of their daughter's ear is proof to them of God's influence on the universe, they are supporting the theory of intelligent design. As an argument, it is almost entirely emotional. This could not have happened by accident. That's what it breaks down to. The watchmaker and irreducible complexity reasoning, however, fail to offer reasonable support. The watchmaker argument has several holes. In plain English, it suggests that if you see a watch lying on the ground, you do not assume, like you might with a rock, that it simply formed there. You assume a watchmaker designed it. You assume this because it is complex and intricate, and each piece has a function. Well, the argument says, the universe is also complex and intricate, and everything serves a function that benefits man. Ignoring the fact, for this discussion, that the arguer disregards the rock, which is a part of nature, as non-complex, the other major flaw in this argument is that it doesn't really support monotheism. If I assume a watch was made by a watchmaker, do I assume that everything else I find lying on the ground which serves a purpose was also made by a watchmaker? If I find a shoe, I suppose a shoemaker. If I find a mechanical pencil, I suppose a pencil maker. Should I not therefore assume one God for man, another for the sun, a third for the ocean, etc.? Also, knowing what we now know of natural selection, the analogous watchmaker is a blind watchmaker who accidentally puts the pieces together in a working order. But this presupposes that the current prevailing wisdom is correct, so we can set it aside for now. So what of irreducible complexity? This theory is based in molecular biology. I am not a molecular biologist, and I assume that most of you are also not. Therefore, we must look at it in extremely simplified form. Using the mousetrap as an example of something which is irreducibly complex, we can see what the term means. Every single piece of the trap is necessary for the trap to function. Take away a single screw and the gadget will not operate. Similarly, there are irreducibly complex mechanisms in the bodies of all living things. According to the argument, these things had to have been designed and put in place. They could not have developed as a result of evolution. An example would be cilium, which are the tiny thread-like whips which many cells use for locomotion. The problem is that natural selection doesn't have to explain how a beneficial mutation first developed. The fact that it did develop doesn't discount random chance. Had cilia developed and not had a beneficial use, it would have no place in this argument. The fact that it had a benefit doesn't change that. Natural selection means that beneficial mutations are adopted and adapted. It may be that the very first randomly appearing cilia replaced a more primitive means of locomotion, such as gravity or pressure. Behe's book contains several other examples of irreducibly complex biological mechanisms, such as hemoglobin and antibodies. All of them can be dismissed as evidence of intelligent design by similar counter-arguments. Of course, disproving two well-known arguments does not in itself disprove intelligent design as a theory, but it sure doesn't support it much either. As usual, I end with a quote, this time from Bertrand Russell. So far as I can remember, there is not one word in the Gospel in praise of intelligence. Thank you.